In this lesson, we're going to look at the work of Frederick Herzberg, another of the psychologists and behavioural scientists working around the same time as Maslow. What Herzberg did was to look at factors in the workplace and the extent to which these factors either motivated or demotivated people. So this slide summarises Herzberg's research, and it looks complicated, but once you get the hang of it, it's very simple. So let me explain. On the left hand side you see various workplace factors, so achievement, recognition, going down all the way to working conditions. What Herzberg did was to look at the impact of these on motivation, conducting lots of studies with different types of employees in different cultures, and what he found was quite fascinating. So you can see a black line down the middle of the slide. Basically, the bars which are to the right or to the left tell us how much this factor can motivate or demotivate somebody. So let's take a look at achievement. There's a huge bar to the right which says achieving things gives us a lot of motivation. In fact, it's the biggest motivator there is. You can see there is a little bar to the left indicating that lack of achievement is a demotivator, but it's only a little demotivator. You'll see that the bars also have different depths, and this tells us how long this sense of motivation or demotivation lasts for. So for achievement, which is having goals and objectives in place together with feedback so that people can get a sense of achieving stuff, it's the biggest motivator there is, and it lasts for a fair amount of time. And there isn't much downside, because if we fail to achieve something, then yes, we get upset, but we very soon get over it. This mirrors what we in sales see all the time, that if we set targets for people that they buy into, if we set objectives for people and have good, accurate and fair reporting systems in place, then this in itself is a great tool for motivating people or helping them to motivate themselves. Let's look at some of the others. So recognition, which ranges from thank you or a well done to somebody, to sending them on the annual achievers trip to some fancy location with the partner of their choice. These are big motivators. In fact, the second biggest motivator. Although, as you can see, there is a downside here in that if people fail to get recognition when they think they deserve it, then they will get demotivated, and actually that sense of demotivation will last a little longer. So if you're going to put formal or informal recognition systems into place in your sales team, which I would suggest you should be doing, then you have to get them right, which means recognizing those people who justly deserve to be recognized and making sure you don't demotivate other people who think they were due to get that recognition themselves. Work itself is a big motivator, so as managers we should make people's jobs interesting, and there is a downside if you don't get it right, but as first line sales managers there's maybe not a lot you can do about work itself. One thing you can do is give people responsibility, which we would normally now call empowering people. This is a big motivator and lasts for a long time. And there is little downside, because you very rarely hear people saying they've got too much responsibility. So the clear message here is to delegate to people, to give them responsibility and accountability, and not to micromanage them. Advancement, which is normally seen as a career promotion, is a motivator, but again there's a bit of a downside if we don't promote people when they think they should be promoted. And then there's a whole bunch of things which appear to be mostly demotivators. So policy and admin. Everybody loves to complain about it, and we set up huge task forces or spend large amounts of money on consultants to review and refine our policies and procedures. And whilst this may be a really good thing to do in terms of motivation, it's not going to help. But it may stop people getting a bit demotivated. Salary, this is base salary, is an interesting one. As a manager, when you give somebody a salary increase, a pay rise, they'll normally say thank you and be really happy. But that will not last long, because as soon as somebody new joins the team or somebody else gets a salary increase, people get as dissatisfied with the situation as they were satisfied when they got the raise. But that dissatisfaction lasts for quite a bit longer. And down the bottom, working conditions. So if you invest a lot of money in nice new offices, I don't know, with a great restaurant, maybe a gym, or you give people the latest and greatest personal computer or mobile phone, then they will say, great, that's wonderful, thank you. And then within a matter of days, they'll be complaining that the roof leaks, or there aren't enough car parking spaces, or their phone doesn't have this particular feature that they want. Herzberg's great insight after doing all this research is that all of these factors in the workplace fall into one of two camps. Those at the top are what he called motivators, and the more of these that we can do, the better. So making sure that people do have clear objectives, that they can achieve, that they get recognised when they do achieve, that their work is interesting and they have a lot of personal responsibility. The more of these things we as managers can do, the more motivated our people are going to be. The stuff down the bottom are what Herzberg calls hygiene factors. So let me explain what he meant by this. If you go into a restaurant and they bring you the plates and some cutlery and it's clean, you don't say anything. It's what you expect. But if they bring you a plate and cutlery that is dirty, you're going to be upset. You're going to be dissatisfied. You'll complain. You'll be less inclined towards using that restaurant again in the future. So, if you're managing this restaurant or managing the staff in the restaurant, you need to make sure that the plates are always clean so that people do not become dissatisfied. But once they are clean, it is pointless polishing them again or putting them through the washing machine again, because it will not make any difference to people's perception. All you need to do is make sure that you're doing enough so that they are clean, and it's the same with all of these factors at the bottom of the slide. We need to make sure that people have reasonable working conditions, good, not necessarily the best salaries, reasonable policies and procedures that are easy and fair, etc. So it's this separation of management activity into motivational activities and pure hygiene factors. These are the things that made Herzberg's work so influential over the years and continues to influence management thinking. For us sales managers, what many people find useful is to consider how much of our time and effort is going into just fixing some hygiene factors which surround our salespeople, but also how much of our time and effort is going into maximising things like giving people a sense of achievement and recognition and good work and responsibility. All managers at some stage fall into the trap of spending far too much time on the hygiene factors, which for us as managers is probably not rewarding or fun. And we don't spend enough time working with individuals, saying thank you and well done, making sure that their targets and their objectives are right, making sure that they have the tools and support necessary to be responsible for their own work. There's lots more on Herzberg with a quick search, and his work features in practically every management textbook you'd come across. I suggest that when you meet up with your coach, you might want to relate how the work factors that Herzberg uses relate to your particular role and what it is that you can do as a sales manager to ensure that the hygiene factors are met and that the motivators are maximised. Bearing in mind that some of these things will be outside of your control, maybe the commission scheme or whatever, but there is a huge amount within your control. For example, saying well done to people, not micromanaging them, etc. We hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful in developing your sales management skills. It's one of a series designed to help aspiring, new or developing sales managers. Please subscribe to get access to all of the tutorials in the series and to get news of new ones added. You can also go to www.realsalesmanager.com where you'll find lots of other activities and resources as well as guides suggesting the best sequence in which to listen to or watch these tutorials.